A meeting between the leaders of Russia and North Korea is now in the works. CBS News has learned Kim Jong Un and Vladimir Putin will meet later this month to discuss arms negotiations between the two countries. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Charlie D'Agata is following this for us from London. Charlie, what do we know about the logistics of the meeting?
Well, first of all, Wendy, the Kremlin said today they have nothing to say about the meeting. But as you said, U.S. officials tell CBS News that Kim Jong Un plans to travel to Russia later this month to meet with President Putin. It's likely he'll travel by that armored train of his to Vladivostok. That's the closest Russian city near the North Korean border on the Pacific coast. They're reportedly both supposed to attend an economic forum scheduled to run between September 10th to the 13th. And it comes after the White House said it has new information that arms negotiations between the two countries are actively advancing.
Why does Russia need arms support from North Korea to assist in its efforts in Ukraine?
Well, frankly, Russia needs friends wherever it can get them. And they're not getting the kind of help they would like from or need from the Chinese. Russia's defense minister recently visited North Korea, that was last month, which is rare in itself, and tried to convince him, this is a quote, to sell artillery ammunition to Russia. That's according to National Security Council spokesman John Kirby. And when it comes to artillery, both sides are burning through it faster than anybody can supply it. I've seen that myself. They're also looking for anti-tank weaponry, again, high on the list since the U.S. and allies are providing Ukraine with tanks and armored personnel carriers like the Bradleys. That could help change the landscape in Ukraine. It just depends on how much ammunition they can get there and how it integrates with Russian weapon systems and, of course, how quickly it can get to the front lines.
What's the current relationship between Russia and North Korea?
Well, Wendy, this is where it gets more complicated and worrying because trading weapons is obviously a two-way street. So in exchange for artillery and anti-tank weapons, what North Korea will want is some of Russia's advanced technology, things like satellite systems and nuclear-powered submarines. As for their relationship, it isn't quite as close as it was when the Soviet Union was effectively propping up the regime and helping to feed its people. But Russia hasn't been entirely comfortable with North Korea's nuclear aims or the long-range missile systems in its own backyard. But the war in Ukraine has definitely strengthened that relationship.
Has the U.S. responded in any way to this meeting?
So National Security Council spokeswoman Adrienne Watson urged North Korea to cease its arms negotiations with Russia and abide by the public commitments that Pyongyang has made not to sell or provide weapons to Russia. That was in a statement. And the White House has threatened further sanctions against North Korea if weapons exchanges actually do take place.
What could the strengthening of the relationship between Putin and Kim Jong Un mean for the rest of the world and the U.S.?
Well, it's potentially worrying. It depends on how deep this relationship goes. So the war in Ukraine has already pushed these two countries together. The United States had essentially been working toward making North Korea a pariah state, and it hasn't really been of much strategic use to Russia, often playing Moscow against Beijing. What this now raises is the specter of an alliance between Russia, North Korea, and China. And there have even been suggestions of like holding military drills and joint naval exercises in order to counter the U.S. and Japanese joint exercises in the Pacific. Now, if this is an alliance that goes beyond sending shells and ammunition to Ukraine, what's more worrying is Russia's support of North Korea should there be a conflict in that region in the future.
Charlie, as always, thank you for your insights.
Thanks, Wendy.